Tonight I'm going to be doing a Omnath EDH deck tech. Now Omnath is a 3 mana cost, 2 and a green, mono green legendary creature for EDH, and green mana doesn't empty from your mana pool, and he gets +1/+1 for every green mana in your mana pool. So, anyway, moving on. There are 35 land in the deck, 23 of which are forests, and I'm not going to bother showing you all the forests, whoop-de-doo, but I will go through the rest of the lands. So first we have Mossfort Bridge. This is great. It's got Hideaway. So when it comes into the battlefield, you choose, or you look at the top 4 cards and you put one underneath it in exile, and if you control a creature with power 10 or greater, you can tap a green mana and tap this card and then put that creature on to the battlefield. And it can also tap for 1 green, so it's really good for getting some stuff onto the field. Doesn't matter what, it's just kind of nice to have. Next we've got Reliquary Tower. Not having a maximum hand size is pretty damn good, especially if you've got lots of draw functions. I know this is mono green and you're thinking, oh, I wonder what he's got for draw, but I'll get over that when I get there. Next I have Maze of Ith. I think it's a staple in almost every EDH deck, but some people disagree. But you can tap this and untap target attacking creature, and this can be really good when either trying to stop the general from giving you general damage, or even if you have something with, say, Annihilator, and you attack with it, you use this, untap your creature, you've still got a blocker that way, and the Annihilator will still trigger. So, really good card, and it's not legendary, so you can copy it. Next we have Ghost Quarter, land destruction, simple enough. Same thing with Wasteland, more land destruction, and same with Strip Mine. It's always good to deal with lands on your opponent's side of the field. Next I have Vesuva. And Vesuva enters the battlefield tapped, but it enters as a copy of a land on the field. So if they've got like a Maze of Ith on their side of the field, or even if you've got one and you need another one, you can copy it. And the same goes for Thespian Stage. It taps for 1 colorless, and you can tap 2 and tap it, and make this a copy of another land on the field. So you can have another Maze of Ith, or whatever land that you want to copy, doesn't matter. Next we have Yavimaya Hollow, and this taps for a colorless, and you can pay 1 green and tap it and regenerate target creature. This is great in any green deck. It really speaks for itself with regenerate. Next we have Mirren the Moaning Well. Now what you can do with this is a draw function land, and it taps for 1 colorless, and you can pay 3, tap, and sacrifice a creature, and you gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. This is good. You can block something, and if you're going to lose the battle, you can block and then respond with sacrificing it, gaining life from it, no harm done, and it's just really good to have, actually. Next is Rogue's Passage. Simple enough, taps for 1, but you can pay 4 and tap it and make a target creature unblockable. In EDH, being able to make your general unblockable is pretty big. It can turn the game around really quickly, and it's just a really nice card to have. And finally, for the lands, we have the Eye of Ugin. And the Eye of Ugin, it makes Eldrazi spells cast cost 2 less, and you can pay 7 and tap it and search your library for a colorless creature card, reveal it and put it in your hand, and shuffle your library. So if you're looking for any of the Eldrazi gods to play, there's that, or other artifact creatures that you want to search for. It's a great tutor, and I like the card. So that's the land for the deck. This deck plays 2 Planeswalkers, We've got Garruk Wildspeaker. Mostly uses +1 for untap 2 target lands. His -1 for a 3/3 beast creature token can be good for blocking if need be. And his -4 is basically an overrun. Creatures get +3/+3 and trample until the end of the turn. So he's really in there for the +1 because that extra mana boost is always nice. Next we also have Garruk Primal Hunter. His +1 puts a beast token onto the field. It's alright, it's just like the other negative on the other Garruk, but what I like to use him for is the -3. If you've got something with decent power and toughness, and being mono green, you're probably going to. Using his -3 as soon as you play him, 6 mana draws you 7+ cards. It's really, really, really good. And the -6, if you get up there on loyalty, it puts a 6/6 green worm creature token onto the field for each land you control, which can be really good given that you have the right mana ramp in your deck. Okay, on to the creature base. Starting off, we have Vorinclex, the Vice of Hunger, and he's a 7/6 trample, and whenever I tap a land for mana, it doubles, and whenever your opponent taps land for mana, it doesn't untap during their next untap step. So, pretty good card. It's really control-y, and for green, it's kind of weird to have, so it's really nice to throw in there. For 8 mana, you can't really ask for much more than that. Next, we have Primordial Sage. Now, he's a 4/5 for 6 mana, but whenever you play a creature spell, you get to draw a card. And in green, you're playing lots of creatures, so you're drawing lots of cards. It's a no-brainer. Next we have Tree of Redemption. I do plan on taking this card out eventually, but right now it's just a 4-drop, 0/13 defender that taps to exchange your life total with its power and toughness. It's good to keep you alive in a pinch, or if you need a really big blocker, you can change your life total with that and do that as well. So eventually I'll probably take him out and put Ulamog the Infinite Gyre in, because it's just overall better, but once I pick that up, this will be coming out. Next we've got Patron of the Orochi. It's a 8 mana cost, 7/7. It's got Snake Offerings, so you can play this spell anytime you could cast an instant or sorcery, or anytime you could cast an instant by sacrificing Snake, and it costs 1 less for each Snake sacrifice, yada yada. But what I use it for is the other ability, tap, untap all forests and all green creatures, and play this ability once each turn. So it's just a huge boost when you're able to tap all that mana and put it into your mana pool with Omnath and have it just sit there, or you can just use it over and over and over again because of all the high costing things in this deck. Next we have Giant Ada Phage. It's a 7 mana cost, 7/7 trample. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you put a copy of him onto the field. Very nice card. Being able to make copies is always good because it gives you blockers. He's a huge hitter, so it's just another solid attacker and defender overall. Next we have Kozilek, the Butcher of Truth. He's 10 mana, 12/12. Whenever you cast Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, you draw 4 cards, so it's good draw function. He has Annihilator 4, so you sacrifice 4 permanents when he declares an attack. And when he's put into the graveyard, you shuffle him into your deck, so I don't know why anybody wouldn't want him. And the fact that he's colorless means that you can put him into any EDH deck, really. But I chose this one because there was a lot of mana to work with, and I figured it was fitting. Next we have Seedborn Muse. If you haven't noticed yet, this deck's all about getting as much mana as you can possibly get. Seedborn Muse, 5 mana cost, 2/4, untap all your permanents during each other player's untap step. It's another card that just speaks for itself. It's great for mana ramp, and it also makes sure that you can attack on your turn and have defenders on your opponent's turn. Even better in multiplayer games, because with Omnath you can be putting mana into your mana pool over and over and over and over again. So that's him. Next we have Dungrove Elder. This deck has a lot of ways to pull out forests. There's 23 of them anyway, so he's hexproof, and his power and toughness are equal to the number of forests in play. So he's really, really good. Next we have Worldspine Worm. He's 11 mana, 15/15, trample. When he's put into the graveyard, you put 3 5/5 green worm tokens with trample onto the battlefield, and you also shuffle him into your library when he's put into the graveyard from anywhere. So another great creature just to have. If you've got something like a sacrifice effect, sacrifice him, you get 3 worms. Maybe you can reanimate him somehow, who knows. But he's just a very, very heavy hitter. This deck has lots and lots of heavy hitters. Next is Acidic Slime. I have him in here. He's a 5/5, or not a 5/5. He's a 5 mana cost, 2/2 with Death Touch. When he enters the battlefield, you can destroy an enchantment, artifact, or land. It can take care of so many things. It's good overall for EDH because a lot of people run artifacts. Everybody runs land, but an enchantment. So it's good spot removal for that stuff. Next we have Primordial Hydra. Since this deck's able to produce such large quantities of mana, I figured an X creature would be a suitable choice. So when he enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters on him, at the beginning of your upkeep you double those 1/1 counters, and when he has 10 or more he gets trampled. So he just gets better and better and better and better over time. If you don't deal with this quickly, it's game over. So next on our list is Raphalos. He's banned as a general, but he's not banned as banned for use in deck. So he's a 2 green mana, a 2/1, but he taps and adds 1 green mana to your mana pool for each forest you control. So playing this turn 2 in this mono green deck, that it opens up a lot of options. I can play Seek the Horizon or whatever I want on turn 2, or even turn 1 if I get this out on the field with the right combination. Next we have Leej of Tango. He's a 8 mana cost, 8/8, trample, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you can have any number of target lands you control turn into 8/8 elemental creatures in addition to being a land. So having a bunch of attackers and blockers on demand that tap for mana, it's pretty good. Again, you'll have the mana to cast it always. Next is Oracle of Moldaya. He's a 4 cost, 2/2. You play with the top card of your library revealed. You can play an additional land on each of your turns, and if the top card of your library is a land, you can play it as the additional land for turn. So it's really good for getting through your deck and getting all that pesky land off the top. It's very good for mana generation, good overall card. Next we have Elder Scale Worm. He's a 7 mana cost, 7/7 with trample. When he enters the battlefield, your life total becomes 7 if it's less than 7. And as long as you have 7 or more life, your any damage that you would be dealt is reduced to 7 instead. So it makes you almost invincible. Very nice. Just kind of a piece to keep you alive in desperate times. Good to have. Next is Artisan of Kozilek. He's in here because he's cheap. 9 cost, 10/9. When you cast him, you can return a card from your creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So any of those big creatures, if you've discarded them or they've been destroyed somehow or anything like that, you get to bring one back. And he's got Annihilator too, so they sacrifice 2 permanents when he attacks. Just a big beefy creature that your opponent is going to have to deal with. Next we've got Moldgraph Monstrosity. He's 7 mana cost, 8/8, Trample. When he dies, exile it, and you return 2 creature cards at random from your graveyard to the battlefield. Again, it's a really good reanimator if you're late in the game, and it's good just to be able to get things that you like back. Next we have Silklash Spider. It's 5 mana cost, 2/7 with reach, but you can pay 2 green and an X and deal X damage to target creature with flying. So it's great removal for anything that you don't like on your opponent's side of the field that flies. It can block flyers too, so just a good piece to have in the deck. Next is Predator Ooze. 3 mana, 1/1. He's indestructible. When he attacks, you put a 1/1 counter, so this is for 4 damage. And whenever a creature dealt damage by him dies, you put a 1/1 counter on him. So not only is he a good blocker, but he just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and fuck is he ever hard to deal with. Next is Garruk's Ford. With all the creatures in the deck, he's really, really, really good to have. So he's a 7 mana cost, 7/7 trample. You play with the top card of your library revealed. If it's a creature, you can cast it. So assembling your army of 7 and 8 cost creatures is really easy at this point. Next we have It That Betrays. Everything that you have in this deck with Annihilator is going to play to your advantage with this card, because anytime they sacrifice a permanent, it comes onto your side of the field under your control. And that's anything with Annihilator, and there's a lot of Annihilator in this deck. So he's a 12 mana, 11/11 with Annihilator 2 that takes your opponent's crap. It's really, 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 really good. And it just fits with all the other Eldrazi stuff. Next we have Sylvan Primordial. He's a 7-drop, 6/8 with reach. Whenever he comes into the battlefield, you destroy a non-creature permanent that each opponent controls, and you search your deck for a forest and put it into play tapped for each one that you destroy this way. So it's really good for fetching more land to get bigger creatures out. It's good removal against any non-creature permanent that you don't like, lightning Greaves, any sort of land, anything like that. Really good card. We have another Eldrazi god, the Pathraiser of Ulamog. He's a 11-drop, 9/9 with Annihilator 3. And he can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. So if you want to get easy general damage in really quickly, this is the card that's going to help you do that. Next we have Taproot Kami. Very basic card, 1 green mana, 0 and star. He's a defender. His power and toughness are equal to the number of forests in play. So not only yours, but your opponent's too. And he can block as though he had flying. I just like the card personally. If you're going to build this deck, go ahead, throw whatever you want in, I don't give a shit. But I like the card. Next we've got Wolfear Silverheart. He's a 5 mana, 4/4. He's got Soulbound, so when he enters the battlefield or when another creature enters the battlefield, you can pair him with that creature. And as long as he's paired, they both get +4/+4. So that little boost when you summon your general will keep him alive, because Omnath is only a 1/1. But yeah, very good to get that +4/+4 boost on all of them. He's essentially an 8/8 for 5 mana. I don't know why anybody would ever turn that down. Next we have Elvish Piper. It's 4 mana, 1/1, but you can tap 1 green and tap it and play a creature card from your hand to the battlefield. The card leaves me speechless. And finally, for creatures, we have Terastodon. When Terastodon enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 non-creature permanents, and for each one destroyed this way, the controller puts a 3/3 green elephant token onto the battlefield. He's a 9/9 for 8. It's pretty good, and it's good removal for anything that you don't like on your side of the field. So that covers 27 creatures in the deck, and Omnath would be the 28th. And okay, now for the artifacts of the deck. First up, we've got Trailblazer Boots. 2 mana, 2 to equip. It's got, the equipped creature has non-basic land walk. So if you're trying to get general damage in, really easy to do that with these. Because, nobody runs all basics. It just doesn't happen. So being able to pump in that damage is really key. The next is Whisper Silkcloak. 3 mana, 2 to equip. The equipped creature is unblockable and has Shroud. So he can jump right through again if it's a general or anything huge like that. You can hit them directly and they can't target your creature. Neither can you, but you can always just unequip and then re-equip. Not a big problem. Next we have Doubling Cube. 2 mana and you can pay 3 and tap it and double the amount of mana in your mana pool. So with Omnath, if you've got 50 mana sitting there and you pay 3, you've got 96 mana or 95 mana or something. It's really, really good. Just great mana generation. Next we have Staff of Nin. You can pay 1 to tap it, and or you pay your damage. Sorry about that. You tap it, deal 1 damage to an opponent, and at the beginning of your upkeep you get to draw a card. So you're drawing 2 at the beginning of your upkeep for 6 mana. It's a great card. Next there is Soul Ring. 1 mana, taps to add 2. Playing this early game puts you that much farther ahead than your opponent, and it's a staple in any EDH deck. Another staple is Sensei's Divining Top. 1 mana, you pay 1, you look at the top 3 cards of your library and put them back in any order, and then you can tap it to draw a card and put this card on top of your library. Very hard artifact to get rid of, only a split second, or if somebody plays a destroy instant on the stack is the really only way to get rid of it. It's a great card. It fixes the top of your deck so that you're not drawing into all the poop that you don't want to, and every EDH deck should have one. Next is Lightning Greaves. 2 mana, 0 to equipped. The equipped creature has haste and Shroud, so it can't be targeted by your opponent's spells, and it's just fantastic. It gives them haste too, so if you just play a creature or just summon a general, you can be swinging right away. Next we have Swift Boots. It's a slightly different version of Lightning Greaves. 2 mana, 1 to equip. Equipped creature has hexproof, not Shroud, so you can target it while it's equipped, and it gets haste. So, very good card, just like the Boots. Trying to get all those effects in the deck without having duplicates, because you can't in EDH, so very good to have as well. And finally, Cage Sun. 6 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a color. With this deck, you're going to choose green. So all creatures of the chosen color get +1/+1, and whenever a land taps for mana for the chosen color, it adds another one of that color. So doubles the green mana that you've got on the field, and with Omnath, that's really, really good, and all the X spells that are in this game. So now we will move on to the sorceries. There are 11 sorceries in the deck, and there's really only 26, I think, 26 spells that aren't creature or artifact in the deck. So there's a good majority of its creatures and land. But anyway, the first one is Tooth and Nail. 7 mana. You can choose one, search your library for up to 2 creature cards, reveal them and put them into your hand. Or you can search your library for up to 2 creatures and put them onto the battlefield. Or, not search your library, sorry, you can put 2 creatures from your hand to the battlefield. And there's a cost at the bottom called Entwine for 2 more, so 9 mana, and you get to search your deck for 2 creature cards and put them onto the battlefield. So you can search for, I don't know, It's That Betrays, so that when they sacrifice permanents, you get them, and then you could also pull out Kozilek or Ulamog or anything, really. Anything you want, you pull out. It's a great tutor. Next is Primal Command. Basically the everything card. 5 mana, you choose 2. Target player gains 7 life. Put target non-creature permanent on top of its owner's library. Shuffle target player's graveyard into target player's library, or you get to search your library for a creature card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Great card, very inexpensive, should be in any green deck, more of a control-y card, very nice. Seek the Horizon, simple, 4 mana, search your library for 3 forests, done and done. This deck has a lot of ways to put extra mana onto the field each turn, and this is another way to ensure that you've always got mana. Enough said about that. Boundless Realms. 7 mana, search your library for up to X basic lands, where X is the number of lands that you control. Basically double your mana for 7. Really, really, really good if you can get it off early game. Puts you really far ahead, and with Omnath, it's all about the mana. Next we have Explore. 2 mana, you may play an additional land this turn and draw a card. Straightforward. And next we have Green Sun Zenith. 1 green and X. Search your library for a green creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle this into your library. It used to be banned, not anymore. I love the card. I think it's broken, but it has to be in here because it's a tutor. Very good. Next we have Nature's Spiral. 2 mana, return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Doesn't get any easier than that. If you lost something that you want back, that's how you're getting it. Next we have Prey Upon. Not a very good card, not worth very much, but I like it. 1 green mana, target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. With this deck and all the high powerful stuff, it's just really, really, really quick and easy spot removal for something that I don't like. Anyway, next we have Enshrined Memories. 1 green and X. Reveal the top X cards of your library. Any creature cards revealed this way, I can put them into my hand, and the rest can put them on the bottom in any order. Really, really, really good for getting creatures or just getting all that junk off the top that you're not looking for right now. Either way, should be in the deck because X spells, I can do this for like 15 if I want and pull out all the creatures that I'm going to need. It's perfect. Next we have Primal Surge. 10 mana, exile the top card of your library. If it's a permanent, I can play it. So with this deck and not having a whole lot of spells, I can pretty much play up to, I'd say on average, 10 or 15 cards off the top of my deck. And at that point, it's game over. And finally for sorceries, we have Genesis Wave. Genesis Wave, 3 green and X. Reveal the top X cards of your library. You may play any number of permanents among them with converted mana cost X or less. And that includes land, so you basically get to do the same thing as Primal Surge, except much, much bigger. It's great. Alright, moving on to enchantments. The first one is Nature's Will. So it's 4 mana. Whenever one of your creatures deals combat damage to a player, you can tap all their lands and untap all of yours. So in a mana gen deck, it's really good. It's got a controlling aspect, so it makes sure your opponent's not playing anything on their next phase in your turn. Overall, very good to have. Next we have Mana Reflection. 6 mana, if you tap a permanent for mana, it produces twice that much instead. So if I've got Cage Sun or Raphaelos, he taps for double. Very good card. Next we have Helix Pinnacle. Since the deck makes so much mana, I figured this was a really, really, really good piece. It's 1 mana, it has Shroud, and it has X. Put X tower counters on Helix Pinnacle. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 100 or more tower counters on Helix Pinnacle, you win. I don't know why anybody wouldn't put this in their deck when they can produce hundreds of mana each turn. Next we have Exploration. 1 mana, you may play an additional land each turn. Speaks for itself, lots of land. Next we have Greater Good. Like I was saying with the World Spine Worm, you could sacrifice it to get the tokens. Well, it's 4 mana, sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the creature's power, and then discard 3 cards. If I'm drawing 15, discarding 3, not a problem. Next we have Eldrazi Conscription. 8 mana, enchant creature, gets +10/+10, and has Annihilator 2. Works well with the other Eldrazi, and it's just a pain in the ass to deal with. Next we have Asceticism. 5 mana, creatures you control have hexproof, and you can pay 1 in green to regenerate a creature. It's just a really versatile card that keeps you safe, and also kind of on the control-y side of things. Next we've got Rancor. 1 green mana gives a creature +2 on the power and gives it trample. And when Rancor is put into graveyard from anywhere, or from the battlefield, you bring it to your hand. Doesn't get much better than that. Trample on a stick. Next we have Vernal Bloom. More mana ramp. 4 mana, whenever a forest is tapped, you add another forest to your mana pool. So, just really good mana ramp. Next we have Blanchewood Armor. Blanchewood Armor, it's 3 mana, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. With all the forest and the mana ramp in this deck, it's a perfect card. For 3 mana, you're almost guaranteed a 4/4 at least, added on to whatever you've got. And finally for enchantments, Sylvan Library. So when you draw a card, you can draw 2 more cards. And then you may pay 4 life to keep each card, or you can actually just put 2 of those drawn cards back on top of the library. So you're basically able to either draw 3 cards a turn for 8 life, or use basically a Sensei Divining Top every single turn. It's a great card, staple in any green deck, and if you've got a green deck, you should have this. And we're down to the last 4 cards, and they're instants. The first one is Crosshand Grip. It has split seconds. Spells can't be played on the stack. It's 3 mana cost. It destroys a target artifact or enchantment. Great spot removal. That's all it is. Next we have Not of This World. It's 7 mana cost, and it counters target spell or ability that targets a permanent you control. If the permanent Not of This World costs 7 less to cast, if the spell that's targeting your permanent, it has a power of 7 or greater. So in this deck, it's basically a free counter spell for a spell that targets or an ability that targets. Great card to have in this deck. Next we have Momentous Fall. 4 mana. As an additional cost to Momentous Fall, you sacrifice a creature, and you draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, and then you gain life equal to its toughness. So very good card, and once again with like World Spine Worm or Moldgraph Monstrosity, just really good, gives you everything. And last but not least, 2 mana, destroy target artifact or enchantment, quick spot removal, always good in EDH. But yeah, that's my deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.